Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to you from the Coaches for You family. Coaches for You is a community of coaches from all parts of the country who have joined hands and come together to support society at large during these challenging times. My name is Rekha and I am your host for the session today. We also want to let you know that the session is being recorded and it will be posted on YouTube for future viewership. Let me introduce you to Yatish Chandrasekhar, who is going to take us on an interesting discussion on refocus, recalibrate, reclaim. Lots of re's there. So Yatish has spent close to 25 years in the retail industry. And then answering his calling for impacting people, Yatish has moved from operations into consulting and L&D in the retail space. He has consulted with major retailers in India and abroad. He has been instrumental in setting up large-scale learning organizations for Aditya Birla Group and the Landmark Group. Yatish says he's a lifelong student and a perennial work in progress. And he's fascinated by life and its lessons, people and their strife, the wise and their wisdom, and the mundane and the miraculous. Sounds like poetry to me. Yatish derives a deep sense of purpose in helping individuals and teams reach their fullest potential. He began his coaching journey in 2015 and brings a blend of Advaita Vedanta and modern management concepts to influence people through his writing, speaking, mentoring, and coaching assignments. Wow. So that's a nice mix of East and West for you. Presenting to you, Yatish. Over to you, Yatish.
Thank you very much, Rekha, and good evening, friends. Welcome to this evening of learning and sharing. As you're all settling down, may I request you to please go to your chat boxes. There is a link there, and I request you to click on that link, which will give you a chance to answer a couple of questions about yourselves. So that'll get us get to know each other and get started. Also, can you please click on the like sign at the bottom of the Menti screen so that we know you've logged in? Please go ahead and answer those questions that are coming up in a while. Alternatively, you can also go to menti.com on your devices and put in the code that you see there. That will take you to the same screen. And as soon as you enter there, please click on the like button on the right-hand side. Yeah, so there comes your first question. Choose your happy place. So you have some options down there. So pick your happy place.
Yatish, there seems to be some difficulty. The like is not going to the next screen, which is asking.
She will see the, yeah, she's
All
okay
right.
now.
Okay, yeah, she's fine. Yeah. Misty Mountain seems to be the hot
Good.
favorite.
Misty Mountains. Yeah, Misty Mountains, nature walks. Second, no one for the books, huh? So reading books is a dying habit.
Maybe with on the Misty Mountains with a book.
Yeah, that's a good combination too. There comes your second question. What is your one biggest strength?
Should they be putting this in the chat box, Yatish?
Yeah. Not in the chat box, there itself in Menti.
Mentimeter. Okay.
Yeah, you see that getting populated. You can see it on your screen. Talking to people, optimism, family, listening, resilience, wonderful. Intuition. That's a very useful strength to have. Intuition, socializing and conversations, bouncing back. That, in fact, is the essence of everything that we'll be talking this evening.
Yes, multiple choices.
Someone says, go ahead and put more if you want to, Upasana. Compassion and socializing, sensing ability, able to empathize, handling people, positivity. Wonderful. So let's move on to the next question. What is that one thing you would like to change about yourself? What is that one thing you would like to change about yourself? Stop doubting. Fantastic.
ये होता है यहाँ इंटरनेट पे नहीं
Go back 50 years. Wow. I wish we had a time machine. Underestimating myself, presuppositions, over-analysis, self-doubt. That seems to be a common thread. Underestimating myself, self-doubt, over-analysis. That's interesting. I accept myself as I am. So difficult to answer this. Lack of action. Become absent. That's interesting. So what is one thing you would like to change about yourself? You want to become absent. Okay. So do we have any more? Procrastination. Fantastic. More diplomacy and communication. Okay. That's wonderful. It's a good list of things to change and good list of strengths to have. So moving on, friends. I'm sure all of us here have had tough moments in life. Some failures, some setbacks, some dreams compromised, or simply have had our backs against the wall. And I'm also sure that all of us have our own coping strategies to come out of such situations. And we have time and again bounced back from where we had fallen. I've had several such moments myself, and each of those moments has given me new learning, new perspectives. It's given me more strength. It has left me stronger, wiser, and it has helped me reinvent myself every single time. So I'm here to share some of those experiences with you, hoping that you will find them useful in the way that I have approached them, and see if it helps you in some way to deal with your own situations. So let me begin at the very beginning. So let me start with my college days. So I was a science student all along, and I moved into my college. As a science student, the most popular choice was physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology. So I took what everyone else took. But then I was nursing a deep hatred for mathematics. And my apologies for all maths lovers here. But that was the fact. And so much so that my hatred for mathematics had grown to such an extent that I actually flunked my 12th grade board exams in mathematics. Now that seemed to be the end of the world for me. I had been a straight A student all along, and this coming unexpectedly was like a shot in my solar plexus. Thankfully for me, my parents were very understanding. They helped me accept my failure and allowed me to make my own choices. And they supported me all along. And that's when I really searched myself, understood what I really wanted, and moved from science to humanities. My love for the English language saw me getting a gold medal at the university level, and then the journey continued. So moving on, I got into a career which was entrepreneurship. Coming from a business family, I got into business naturally. I had a successful business running for about 7 long years, and I had put everything, my heart and soul into it. I had not taken a single day's break during those 7 years. But then there came a time when I realized that the external world was changing so rapidly. And me being in retail, I realized that retail was going to be a very, very big thing in India. But I was not prepared for it. So I realized that I had to do something about fixing that. And I went on, I wrapped up everything that I had done. And wanting to invest in myself, went on to pursue a higher education. By then, I was already married, and therefore the decision to do that was all the more difficult. A marriage that was dysfunctional right from the very beginning, I could have continued to uh, be in quite desperation or go ahead and rebuild my life. And I chose to do the latter. Post that, I had a very successful career in retail operations. I was setting up new businesses and traveling quite a bit, and I loved it. But then there was something missing. It was getting very monotonous for me. And that's again when I had to take a deep dive and find out what really I wanted. And I realized that it is actually working with people that really ticked me rather than chase numbers. And coming with a natural strength of training and teaching, I moved to the learning and development function within the retail industry. And ever since then, I have loved doing whatever I have done. I've set up large learning ecosystems with multinationals and so on and so forth. But down the road, I also realized that there was a coach in me wanting to express himself. And that's when I began on becoming a coach for the last 5 years, and I have been on that journey so far. So that's a snapshot of my life. And looking back, I realized that uh, there are 4 steps that I have taken in each of these situations. And those are the 4 steps that I'm going to be sharing with you in some time. But before we do that, I'd like you to please think back and pick one situation from your own life, one which is perhaps not yet resolved and that you wish to resolve. So please think of one such event, one such situation, one such issue that you're dealing with, and please make a note of it in your journals. Talk about the situation and the feelings. It could be goals that you have had to let go. It could be opportunities that you had to let go. It could have been plans that you had to shelve, or it could even be personal dreams that you had to sacrifice. So please go ahead, journal it in your books. You have a minute. Thank you. I hope you've found a situation that you want to resolve. What I'd invite you to do is I want to take you to a safe and anonymous place for you to share your little stories. So please click on the link in the chat boxes. It'll take you to a platform called Padlet, which is a completely anonymous place for you to share without identifying yourselves. talk about your situation. You have to click on the plus sign at the end of the screen that allows you to start keying in. So there is a plus sign at the bottom right-hand corner. Please click on that and it'll allow you to type in whatever you want. Amazing. Setting up my learning and coaching venture, and I found I was not able to do anything about someone else being in pain. That must be really difficult. Being my own boss. Continue my career in education for sustainable development. Failure in my PUC. Okay, I have a friend there. Caged bird. Go ahead and share your little stories. Living in my own home. Continue my career in education for sustainable development. Unfortunately, had to give it up. The first time I was not diplomatic. Had to shelve setting up my own practice. Awesome. There are a lot of very personal and touching stories coming up. I was in a situation where I had no option to quit, or I would have been asked to leave for no fault of mine. This left a deep scar, naturally. Excuse me. When I allowed others to sabotage my progress, setting off on my own after quitting a job. I'm sure these are quite challenging situations. I can definitely empathize with many of these situations. So here's what I have done dealing with my situations. So the first thing that I have done when I was faced with a tough situation was to really ask myself, what is my purpose? Why is it that I want to do this? Or what is it that I really want? Why am I chasing this goal? So asking what's my why has been a very profound state of dealing with the situation. It may sound simple, but extremely profound. This has allowed me to make minor tweaks at times, make some course corrections at other times, or sometimes to take complete U-turns. And that has been the beginning of reinventing myself. To give you an example, when I moved from operations to L&D, I was successful. I was traveling quite a bit, and I loved what I was doing. But there was something missing in deep within me. And when I really searched hard, I realized that I loved to help people more than chasing numbers. So I wanted to help people realize their potentials. And that's when I made a conscious decision that I wanted to move from operations and be in learning and development. So that was a very significant moment in my life. So I'm sure you can apply this yourself. So what I'd like you to do is to please pick up that situation that you thought of a moment ago and ask yourself, what is your purpose behind this goal, the goal that you are after? Why is this situation important for you? What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you're trying to chase? I'd like you to journal it in your books. Take a minute and put it down. The next thing that I have done with my situation was to ask myself, what is really stopping me? To reassess my beliefs and to also find out what are the things that I can really influence. Many a time, we tend to hold external factors responsible and look outside for help. But we realize that it is actually there are things that we can do which are within our control. It's important, therefore, to understand what is it that we can influence. And I can best explain this using what Stephen Covey talks about in his book, The 7 Habits. He calls it the circle of influence and the circle of concern. You know, given any situation, there are always things that we can do something about, which is what is our circle of influence. And there are always things we can do nothing about, and that's a circle of concern. And it's like what's happening now. We can continue to complain about rising COVID cases, but what is it that we can do? As an individual, I can practice social distancing. I can wear a mask every single time. I can wash hands, and I can practice. I can follow all the instructions that are meant to be followed. So let me give you an example. When I was at the end of my business career, I saw that there were a lot of things changing externally. The world was changing rapidly, and I was not ready for it. I could do nothing about what was changing around me, but I could definitely work on what I could do. And that's when I decided to wrap up all that I had done for the last 7 years and go ahead and invest in myself, upgrade myself, and become more marketable by pursuing an MBA. So that was something that was within my circle of influence that I could act on. So let me encourage you to go back to your situation now. And please ask yourself, what is it that is stopping you? And what are those things that you can influence? What is your circle of influence looking like? You have a minute to journal it in your books. The third step, after identifying all that is within my circle of influence, is to understand what is it that I can do, which is all the possibilities that I have, and what is it that I should do, which is the one action that I'm supposed to take. Now, I can explain this with a metaphor of a golfer. Now, if you're familiar with the game of golf, you understand that every golfer can carry 14 clubs in his or her bag. Now, that to me represents the set of possibilities that one has in any situation. However, a golfer can only choose one club at a time to play a shot. That represents that one action out of the many possibilities that one can take. Also, a golfer determines which club to play with only after looking at the lie of the ball. Similarly, the solution that we can pick can only be appropriate after assessing the situation completely. So, going back to my example, when I was moving from operations to L&D, I had many choices. I although wanted to be in retail, I could have gone into consulting. I could have been I could have gone into academia, which I loved. But the one area that really attracted me and that seemed very appropriate was to remain in the retail industry and be closer to the area, the plan of action, the action area, and serve as an L&D specialist. And that's what I chose to do. So what I encourage you to do now is to go back to your situations. Now that you've identified your circle of influence, what is it that you can do? Identify what are those many possibilities that you have in front of you, and also pick one action point that you should act on. What is it that you can do, and what is it that you should do? Okay, if you've done that, I want us to play a little game here. I'd like you to think of all the things that you have to do in the coming week and make a quick note of it in your journals. All the things that you have to do in the coming week. And please, I'd like you to write it down as have to. I have to, let's say, file IT returns. I have to sign up for a course, whatever it is. So please use have to when you list it down. If you've done that, what I'd like you to do now is to go and replace all the have tos with a choose to. Replace all the have to with I choose to. It's like, I have to file IT returns, but then I choose to do it before the end date. So if you've done that, let's see. I'd like any of you who's keen to share about how you felt doing this, replacing have to with choose to. You can unmute yourself and go ahead and share how you felt.
Feel liberated.
Feel liberated.
Yatish,
Amazing. That's a
can I
wonderful
share?
word. Yeah. Yes, Vijay.
I
Please
felt
go
a surge of joy. The pressure got
ahead.
lifted off my shoulders, and I just wanted to sing a song. It felt so nice.
Fantastic. That's a very, very nice way of expressing it, Vijay. Yeah, so Stephen Covey talks about this in his 7 Habits again, when he talks about being proactive. So choose to is very liberating, like you said. You feel like singing a song. Whereas have to seems like there is something external that is imposing things on you. So when you choose to do something, you feel less pressurized. Wonderful. In fact, I was just reading the other day, I believe when you say choose to, it also helps in overcoming procrastination. Because when you list down things as I have to, you tend to avoid them because you don't want to be bossed over by yourself. Whereas when you say you choose to, there is the internal neural pathways allow you to act on those points and helps you overcome your procrastination. That was a wonderful finding. I think it was a research done by one of the Western universities. So going forward, the final step in trying to analyze or deal with your situation is to ask yourself, what is my next step, or what is it that I'm willing to do? So remember, we have looked at your circle of influence, we've looked at the broad set of possibilities, what can I do, and then identified one action, which is what should I do. Now it's time to ask yourself, what is it that I'm willing to do? Because a lot of us know what needs to be done, but many a time we hesitate doing it, willing to commit to it. Now, what does this do? This gives us the dedication required to commit ourselves to the chosen path of action. And hence, there is complete ownership of not just the actions, but also the outcomes. And there is absolutely no blame here, no blame game, no blaming external situations or people. To give my example, the marriage I was in was a difficult one, but it was my choice. I had gone against the family wishes to make that choice. And hence, it was my complete ownership, and I owned it till the end. I owned the outcomes as well. And there was no blaming either family or friends or anyone. So that is what the willingness allows one to do. Once we've committed to that action, there is complete ownership. So I'd like you to go back and apply that to your situation and pick what is it that you're willing to do in this situation. Among the many possibilities that you have, what is it that you are willing to do? You know what can be done. You also have identified what should you do, but what is it that you're willing to do? And I think that really wraps it up. So to summarize, I have always been able to repurpose myself, reassess my beliefs, redirect my energies, and rededicate myself to the next plan of action that I have chosen. And that has made all the difference. That has allowed me to come back wiser and stronger, reinventing myself each single time. So let me put it all together for you to internalize. So here's how it looks. So I'm sure that by now you have started associating yourself with many of the reverbs. It's like the action replay. We call it replay because we are going through the action once more. And when we go through the replay, we see details that we have missed the first time. So similarly, here's a set of reverbs that are coming up for you. You may associate yourself with one or many of them. There is a link given in the chat box. So what I'd like you to do is to please go over to the link and start putting down the reverbs that you associate with, that make sense to you, that are appropriate for you, for your situation. Go ahead and pick as many as you want. Let's see what's coming up. I hope you'll be able to access the link. So please go to the link and click on the like button so that it allows you to share. Alternatively, you can also go to menti.com and key in the code number given there. Fantastic. I think there has been a lag. Redefine, relook, realign, reflect, redeem. Wonderful. Many reverbs. Reassess. Relook. Redream. Redesign. Restart. I can see Indira posting in the chat box, restart. Reflect still seems to be a hot favorite. Reorganize, revisit, reinvent. Ajita, looks like you have a challenge accessing the Menti link. You can alternatively go to menti.com on your devices and use the code number on the top. Restart, reinvent, reprioritize. react. So there are some who are not able to access Menti. Reclaim. Recalibrate, Johnny. Fantastic. Can we see more? Yeah, replay, react, redefine, repurpose, recalibrate. Sure, that's one of my favorites too, Ajita. Rediscover, rework, restore, release, reignite. Fantastic, Maruk. Good. I think we have a good crop, a rich crop of reverbs. So what I'd like us to do now is to use all these reverbs that you have chosen, and we'll try to give it a colorful expression to create your own poster and your mantra that will be a guiding force for you. So what I'm going to do is to play some music in the background. So I'm sure you all have got some white paper with you and some coloring material. So I'd like us to go and freely express ourselves about the way we feel now. Like Vijay was saying, you would like to sing. Johnny was saying very uplifting. So go ahead and express yourself in every way possible. Get as creative. Let your creative juices flow. So we have about 6 minutes for this exercise. I hope you've got your own creative expressions done. I have mine here. So I invite you all to please turn on your cameras and show your creativity so that we can actually take a group picture along with our creations. So please go ahead, turn on your cameras and show us what you've created. So here I have my own little creation. This is what I feel like right now. So let's see the others as well. Please turn on your cameras and show everyone what you've created for yourself. It's also good if you can keep your face in the frame so that we'll take a group picture. That's nice. So go ahead, show us your creativity. Upasana, that's wonderful. It looks very interesting, swirls of color. Fantastic. Does anyone else want to show what they've created? Oh, there is Indira. Let me see. There it is. Indira has got something created there. I can't see it now. Wonderful. So we've taken a group picture. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being a sport and trusting the space. And I wish you all the best as you go and reclaim your dreams. So we now open the floor for any questions and comments.
Thank you, Yatish. That was a wonderful journey, so beautifully, threaded with your own personal life and having everyone to reflect on their lives and taking us gently through the path of reclaiming. Absolutely beautiful. I think people were so mesmerized and they were so into the session and working on themselves that there are only 2 questions so far that have come up. And that too, I think
very, very good.
Quite in the beginning. So there's a question there.
Nimi.
Nimi is asking, yeah. How do we keep the momentum, she's asking. Do you want to take that, Yatish?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think momentum comes from constantly being at it. I think one has to continue to remain focused, continue to refocus and recalibrate and reclaim constantly. So it's a 24/7 job, and that's how the momentum can be built.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Yatish. There was a question
Thank you,
sometime
Nimi.
back, Yatish, someone had asked, with respect to the slide that you had presented, there were the bubbles. Do the size of the bubbles in your timeline mean something?
Bubbles as in the last slide, or was it in the flowers on the top?
No, it was right in the beginning. Remember, you were presenting the timeline.
Your timeline
life.
slide, Yatish.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No. They don't mean anything at all. They just, it's just
Sure.
a graphic to represent different points. So
Right.
it's good to see that 69% of them found this very useful, and about 31% found it useful. 77% have rated it excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
So there is another question from Ajita, Yatish. In the process of
Sure.
recalibration and refocus, does it mean we are not sure of ourselves? Interesting question.
Yeah, very, very profound. Well, it's always helpful to revisit the situation and look at it from a different perspective. And I think this whole idea of recalibrating and refocusing comes from that perspective. Like I said, a replay. I mean, when you know that the action is over, what is the need to look at a replay? The purpose of a replay is to look at nuances and look and see if the decisions that were made earlier, whether they are right or whether they need to be reassessed. That's the whole purpose of a replay, right? And hence, anything that you do to go back and revisit the situation with a fresh pair of eyes will always give new insights, new perspectives, and help us rediscover things that we had missed in the first place.
Right.
I have a question. My name
Love
is Johnny.
to keep the discussion going.
Sure, Johnny. Yes.
Hi, Johnny.
Hi. Yatish, in the beginning, you mentioned as you were speaking about your journey in life that there was the coach waiting to be expressed, or something that you used the word expression of wanting to be a coach. I just wanted to learn from you how did that happen in the expression bit of the coaching?
Fantastic. So as I was already in the learning and development space, I used to engage individuals and teams and help them build more awareness about their situations, about their issues that they are dealing in. But my own understanding of coaching was very, very different. I thought a coach is the one who always solves a problem and gives them advice and gives them the direction. So the first time I came across the definition of coaching, where it said that coach is not the one who provides an answer, who is actually the one who helps the person find an answer for themselves. So that was a big revelation for me. So I knew that I was helping people resolve things, but not the way I understood it as. So and this revelation was even more interesting. When you're actually not providing the solution, you're actually helping others to find the solution by themselves. So that made coaching all the more enticing for me, and then there was no looking back. So that's how the expression happened, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, Yatish. Thanks, Rekha. And with your permission, I will leave now.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for participating.